Started. Okay. Good evening. Welcome to our events and commemoration meeting. Today is July 15th. It is 5:30 p.m. If we could get a roll call, please, Alyssa. Mrs. Cooper, here. Mr. Capel,
here.
Ms. Dreyer is absent. We are going to first move to, I'm going to make a motion to approve the minutes from June 15th meeting. This might have been our longest minutes ever.
Second. It was our longest meeting,
yeah,
at least since I've been here.
Yeah. Seconded by Mr. Capel. Mrs. Cooper? Yes. Mr. Capel?
Yes.
2 yeas, motion approved. Thank you. In unfinished business, we have a 4th of July recap. I assume Mr.
Yeah, let me.
Do we have technical?
The other camera is it black?
That works.
There we go. Oh.
Are they working on yours? Oh, not now. Are they working now on your TV? If you're watching online, we're just having some technical issues in the building.
That's okay. Nobody is.
Every once in a while, I will go back because not necessarily this meeting, but
Yeah.
sometimes I've listened to yours before.
The
services.
I listened to a fair amount of, especially the BZA and the
Zoning.
The new one. My goodness.
BZA.
The recreation district.
Oh, the joint
recreation district. Okay.
Okay.
There we go.
So 4th of July recap.
That angle. A little bit of a new angle for you there.
Hey. I don't know if you like that.
It's all right. Like I said, nobody's watching. Right. So just wanted to provide a little bit of a recap. We did have a meeting earlier today, so I don't have the notes from it. I've got some notes that we took during the meeting. Alyssa will type up the notes and we'll make sure that we get those in the record officially.
That's right.
But did want to share with you generally what happened and the comments that were made at the meeting today. So it included city representatives, civic representatives, police, fire, and then Bright City was there as the kind of one of the key sponsors for the evening event. And then we had a food vendor, the one who helps manage the vendors, the food vendors at the high school or the middle school. And then maybe
Your meeting.
and then our service department. Thank you.
Discuss the parade and the events in the evening.
We discussed the parade, the pre-parade, the parade, and then the evening event, including the fireworks. So I'll give you sort of my notes and you can fill in as you see necessary. On the pre-parade, just sort of, what happened prior to the kickoff of the parade. We continue to have issues with the drop off of individuals who are participating in the parade. There's a lot of confusion about how to access the middle school for lining up earlier in the day. And by that, a lot of it is just people continue to come to the Columbus Street entrance for the middle school and they get redirected to the back side of the school. Some people obviously do access from Columbus Street, the dignitaries, the tractors. I think those are the two kind of key components. So definitely need to do a better job of communicating that. The civic agrees that that's an area of.
What do they want folks coming in?
Well,
from the Baldwin Street?
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's what you did and you were.
Let's to Hill. Yeah.
Because you ended up, you couldn't even make it.
I pulled in, dropped the boys off, turned around.
Okay.
Because it was such a long line. Just to get in.
So you're saying it was stacked even on the school grounds to get in? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I had said I thought we were so there was definitely a miscommunication because I thought you were supposed to be dropped off from Columbus Street, remember? Because that's what I said, and the boys agreed with me. So, and we were wrong.
That coach indicated either way, I just naturally went in.
So that might be something too that we can, I realize you're saying like that the Civic Association is going to, something that we can encourage them to do is the big, like the Olin TNG band, the big Walnut band, the cheerleaders, the football.
Yep.
The ones that are the Vineyard Church, the ones that have the biggest amount, we can like, maybe even Amber or somebody could reach out to them, or Cindy could reach out to them and just reiterate, like, this is how we would like you to do it.
Yeah, one of the things we had talked about is we probably feel like there need to be 2 videos done next year. One really about the parade itself, lining up whatever the route is, kind of what happens at the end of the parade, so people understand that one. And then the other one really more about fireworks and the evening events and whatever might be happening there. So, but clearly, as I was trying to help direct people to Let's off of Columbus Street, a lot of them were saying exactly what you said, that they had received an email the night before from somebody in their group who basically said, come in on the Columbus Street side. Well, that's not the instruction that's coming from the event organizer.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so definitely that continues to be a bit of an issue.
And for the record, we did not receive communication from the football team to do that. That was not received. I just thought that. So
Yep.
I don't want to throw Krager under the bus because he did not send anything out.
Yeah, agreed. I think that was the biggest issue that came up with respect to the pre-parade. Then some of the other events.
Was there enough time? Like by the time 10 o'clock came, had everybody been dropped off?
Yeah.
It was just a lot going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. As for the parade, the chief confirms that what happens is that all of the streets are supposed to be closed down at 9:55. So when he sends out the order to close down the streets, that's when everything gets locked down. It came up because some of the event volunteers who might have been staffing the corners weren't really clear like when the roads closed down. Because there were additional barricades to put out as well. So at what point does that happen? So we need a clearer sort of message, not just to the police officers, but somehow communicated to the volunteers.
Those red vests.
Yeah.
9:55.
9:55 is when it gets shut down. Speaking of the red vests, I think most people generally felt like there were more of them available. So the red vests were out there to help sweep candy from the middle of the street. Next year, I think they are going to try to get brooms just so that it's a little more clear what these people are doing. They're not just walking out into the street and picking up candy or kicking it or whatever. But I don't know how many they said they had, but maybe 8 to 10 red vests or something to assist. We did block traffic or prohibited parking along both sides of Cherry this year, and generally heard back that was good guidance. People felt like that worked. It helped that none of the businesses were open, so we didn't have any kind of an issue with that. What we did do, though, is the night before we blocked off the street with cones and caution tape. And then there was a little bit of debate whether or not the caution tape should have stayed up to help keep people behind the tape. We'll explore that a little bit more, but it's probably unreasonable to think that could happen.
Right.
But where we might create basically a physical barrier to entry on the street might be really the corner. If we're going to continue around this corner down here in Cherry and Columbus, that's a very difficult turn to make if you're in a tall vehicle where you can't see somebody approaching from, the corner. So there may be a place where there's some physical barriers what might help make it a little bit safer as well. So
I think that
we'll
makes sense.
explore that.
My perspective on the caution tape though is it would be gone. The kids would get into it and mess with it and stuff.
It's not
The cones being out there, I think having the cones where they were helped a lot because I was able to tell my kids don't go past the cones, which they of course did go past really often. But it was easy enough to yell, "Hey, get back," and they'd see where they had to get back to. So I thought the cones were great and probably enough. The red vests helped, although we didn't have one consistently in our area. Yeah. So it was nice, but the cone I feel like was what really helped more than anything.
Did your family sit along?
We were on Cherry Street up here, which is different. We've never sat there before. We were right across from Serve, basically. Down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because one of the other things we talked about was maybe, and this came up at about, the 11th hour, and we decided we didn't have enough time to vet it, and that would have been putting maybe some chalk lines on the road as well. So again, maybe there's something else that just maybe for the parent, stay
Yeah.
behind the chalk line, get behind the line, something like that. What we didn't really know is kind of, after the parade is over, how long do those things stay in the road? And clearly we don't want to create confusion for a driver. So we've got to explore that a little bit more and see if that has any benefit. But that's good feedback on the cone. So maybe it did kind of give, it's a kind of a physical indicator, at least for a parent, like stay behind the cone, stay, get back.
In our vicinity, I did not notice a lot of kids running out too far. They might take a step past the cone or something to flirt with it, but there are very few times I see one run like all the way out to where the floats were.
Okay. That's great feedback. Thank you. Trash. So what happened, there's a little bit of a communication issue on trash. I think we agreed we need to we need to get more trash containers out there on the square. We had the Kroger boxes, but those don't work that great. And somebody needs to be monitoring those. We did have 4 members of our service team who were in the entire day to kind of help just kind of manage these issues in between, move signs, that kind of stuff. So in addition to helping kind of block some intersections, which they've done in the past, they stayed here and kind of worked like service related issues the rest of the day. They actually went on the square, cleaned it up later after the parade. And I think most people thought that was pretty good. In fact, also getting the trash cans emptied around the square helped for anything that might've been happening on the square over the weekend. Cause now you don't have a big, your trash cans aren't all full. So we could start basically fresh. So I think that worked out, but again, maybe a little bit of some
Does our
gaps in there.
service team hourly employees get paid holiday pay?
They do. Yep. We still had gaps in the parade that we need to work out. I identified at the very end of the parade. So I was at the far end trying to keep time, like I said we were going to do, and monitor what happens at the end of the parade. We had 3 major gaps in the parade that we've talked to the civic folks about and still need to figure out what to do there.
You said was a broken down, really antique vehicle.
One was, but then the police had stopped the parade at the bottom of the square or the bottom of the hill over there to allow, I think, whatever that mechanical issue might have been. But they were also allowing the tractors, so the tractors were falling behind. And so even when it reconvened or started up again up the hill, there still ended up being a big gap within the tractors. So we got to figure out a way. Is it a matter of them not driving at the same speed, or they just have different speeds to their tractors or whatever, but it created big gaps. And as the deputy police chief has said, it's dangerous because it also creates confusion for those who are watching the parade about whether the parade has ended. I don't think most people thought it had ended at that
Well,
point.
there was a big gap right at the beginning, like almost right after Joe's float. It was like, so obviously no confusion, but you do wonder, like, is everybody okay? Like people get hurt and you just want to.
Yeah. So we still have some work to do around that. But again, maybe another reason to do some more on the video front to kind of communicate better what it is that the event organizers are trying to convey, but just maybe find another way to convey that message.
We have the same tractors, the same people driving tractors every year, or if it's new people. I'm just curious, like how that goes. Like if we have different people every time, then that a consistent communication would be helpful.
Yeah.
I feel like this year there were a number of tractors driven by young guys. Looked like they were high school age.
Yeah.
I hadn't noticed
Maybe.
that.
I agree. It felt like there were more of them who were young.
And I'm not saying they were driving incorrectly, right? And I doubt they've been doing it for years and years.
Yeah. I see what you're saying, like in the parade.
Right. Did the parade get started on time?
Yeah, I've got the
I
timing.
was wondering because it seemed like it took a long time to get to us, but we were sitting a little further away than usual anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point, actually. So let me get to that. So the parade kicked off at 10 o'clock. I mean, right on schedule. The lead portion of the parade got to Cherry Street at 10:12, so it took 12 minutes to get there. So if you're up here at around, I mean, it's
Makes sense.
15 minutes or so to get up and turned around the corner. It got to the 37 East Street at 10:25. So the beginnings of the parade are now starting to get off of State Route 37, 25 minutes after we start. The Cherry Street, so the very last float entry cleared Cherry Street at 10:50 in the morning. So basically, if we were to change the parade route and just go through Cherry Street, the street would have been closed from 9:55 until 10:50. Whereas by kind of keeping that open and coming down Cherry Street and up, the streets did not open for another 25 minutes. So the roads were back open again at 11:15 in the morning. So we would gain about 25 minutes if we chose a route that didn't continue down 37. So for whatever that's worth.
Sure, that's.
There's plenty of
So our-
alternative routes though.
Well,
That wouldn't-
and we decided we were gonna
Yeah.
do some more, kind of watch the parade a little closer, document a few more things. We did note that by closing down Cherry and Columbus, we ended up blocking 40 parking spaces. But because we opened up Cherry or Granville Street, it actually opened up 27. So there was a net loss of parking around the square of 13 to 15 spots. But nobody seemed to be concerned about that being a big loss. Not saying that it didn't have some impact, but it did have an impact of some sort. Yeah. So, and then there was a lot of confusion, and there continues to be a lot of confusion around the end of the parade and the road reopening. So we talked about maybe trying to add a sign or something to the fire truck, which is the last vehicle in there, thanks for attending, or some sort of message.
It was 2 police officers.
Then so the fire truck's the last one, and then you have 2 police vehicles that are
Okay.
following it, and they're saying,
But
okay, the
then
roads
you
are.
had that guy on the ATV.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, made it into our video
Yeah.
that we posted. And so I was like, we have a better,
Yeah, we did talk.
we weren't very consistent because we're saying you have to wear a helmet, B, you have to keep all wheels on the ground. And then he was after the parade, no helmet, wheels off the ground, and we put him in our video. So I'm like,
Yeah.
live and learn. I'm not mad. I'm just like, let's do better next year.
Really aware of that. We did definitely talk about that individual. He was not registered to be in the parade. He jumped in line somewhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's
Yeah.
bold. It is bold.
Yeah, because he did it right behind the police. Was he doing it when he
Yeah, he was pumping wheelies out here. The one in the video was right where I was watching from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he had a cowboy hat on, right?
yeah.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then, so that was most of the comments regarding the parade. So then moving to the evening event, I'll begin by saying this, that of the committee, I think we felt like there was a mixed response to the fact that there was no event on the square. Meaning, we definitely heard from some residents, like, what happened? Why didn't we have an event? But there were also others who understood why we didn't and were okay with the fact that it got moved to the middle school. So like I said, I will say a mixed response. I'm not saying that it was
From
all
residents or from your committee?
from the committee as well. A mixed response from the committee as well. I will say that the safety forces liked the fact that again, they could focus on the parade and not kind of have to deal with an issue that was going on in the square at the same time, or even after, because, at that point, they're starting to release personnel back to other, to cover other emergencies, or even just kind of general operations. But there were some who, have historically grown accustomed to some kind of an event. But I will say that the folks who helped with the evening kids zone, made it very clear that, you could not have done kind of that experience here and that experience there. There weren't enough volunteers. and there weren't enough resources to basically be able to accommodate both. And there wouldn't have been enough time to break it down here and set it up someplace else. So like I said, mixed response, we'll talk more about it, I think, next year. We'll definitely document it in the notes.
It's important for folks to know that, A, it wasn't the city that ever hosted that event, it was the chamber, and B, the city isn't saying, no, another group can't come, so
Right.
not right now, we're not saying
Yeah,
that, but
yeah, but again, it does take, city resources to support it.
yeah.
And so that's just something else.
I do wonder what
Keep in mind.
the public feedback would be to that, because I think it's kind of nice to have a morning component.
Yeah.
And an evening component and kind of separate them like that,
Yep.
focus on the parade, then focus on the everything else. And so I'm curious how many people used to just come and stay all day on the square.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
it's hot. It's kind of miserable. So
Yeah. Why don't you come up to
You
the
wanna come up to the
microphone
microphone?
and actually turn on the microphone? I don't think we've turned it on yet. It's can you see it?
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I received very few phone calls, emails, or walk-ins this year. We never made a formal announcement that we weren't doing this. I simply met with Daryl last year. I had, I want to say 3 vendors reach out and ask if we were taking vendors, and I explained to them that we were no longer doing the event. Maybe the week before the parade, we had a handful of people reach out and ask us parade questions. That happens every year. I will have to say that the amount of people that reached out was considerably lower than it has been in previous years. I know that just hearing people talk, other people saying things to me and on Facebook, some people are like, hey, what happened? Where'd the flea market go? I've also spoken with some of the businesses right here on the square. And I have encouraged everybody, anybody that's willing to say anything to me, please share that feedback with the chamber. We can't fix it if we don't know what's wrong. I'm not saying that the chamber will take that event back. I do feel like, and I believe the board would back me up on this, this is more of a civic. Not saying the civic should do it, but it's a community event. Our focus on the community event will remain Christmas on the Square. But yeah, if people want to, the city, the committee, businesses, residents, if anybody has feedback, we welcome that, because who knows what the future holds.
Right. That's
Even
good.
like
Thank
at
you.
the Sizzle and Sound, like that event starts at 11, maybe 10 or 11 in the morning.
Mhm.
And so that's already, that's probably our one that's like an all-day event for city
Yeah, sure,
resources. But that's almost as equally as long for the 4th of July, or longer if they're working the night before, they're working in the morning, and then they're working late at night. Not only our police, but our services.
Yeah.
And we saw, I mean, Joey put all the Melissa, Amber, everybody
Yep.
was out, all hands on deck. So and we're a city, but we have a small staff and
I was gonna say, and my
Limited.
day
resources.
was from 5 until between 4 and 5, just on the 4th of July. That doesn't include all of the work leading up to it. So that was a 12-hour day for me. And then Civic went up and did their portion, and I think they started at 5, 4, 6. So that's a really, it's an extremely long day for one organization,
Yeah.
even for 2. So,
Yeah.
but again, I told the businesses, if the businesses aren't open, if they want to do something, let's sit down and talk. So.
And that would be the thing. Have you reached out to the businesses for help?
Not just for help, but participate, what involvement do you want? Up until this year, everybody's been closed except for the tavern. So if the businesses aren't open.
Well, I think, prior notice saying, if you want to market your business, we can, if you help out maybe for 2 hours, we will market your business with maybe a sign, or you can have a T-shirt that says your business if you're gonna help volunteer at one of the corners, or if you're gonna help with the parade, or if you wanna do 2 hours of trash. Yeah, the chamber or the city or the civic group will market your business, but I do think it's up to those groups to go to the businesses.
Well, the chamber has reached out to the businesses. There has been communication the past few years. But I think, to Daryl's point, there's a lot of confusion, or maybe Cindy said it. There's a lot of confusion over who does what. Is it the
Yeah.
city? Is it the chamber? Is it civic?
And-
And up until this year, it was all three of us. It was a joint effort, and we knew that.
Yeah,
But
and that's
like I said,
okay.
I'm used to the entire community reaching out to me for everything. And I had my hands full with what was happening on the square, and I had no problem, taking these phone calls and emails and visitors, and I would direct them to the Civic Association. And having a conversation with the business isn't the problem. Is this a business event or is it a community event?
Yeah.
Well, do they want to market their business? If there's a new business on the square and they need to market,
Sure.
what a great time.
We
4th of July, really.
offered, we had banners again this year. The city
Okay.
was gracious
Yeah.
enough to say,
I gotta tell you though, those banners, they are so difficult to read. And you can, the businesses can buy them for what, $2.50?
Yeah.
They're very difficult to read. And I've got glasses, so maybe, but when you're driving by,
Well-
the name of the business is very.
I understand that,
It's-
and we're not trying to distract drivers. This is on the square when they're walking,
Yeah.
participating. So we were grateful that we had that opportunity. Very few businesses took advantage of it. I'm not saying that we can't have conversations in the future. I'm just saying that last year the chamber made this decision, and until
Right,
things are different.
It was your board really made that
Yeah.
decision.
And we
Yeah.
used to go around, and I think you did too. We used to go around to every business,
Yeah.
Christmas on the Square and for the
Yeah.
4th of July. And
I
I
did.
think I remember you and Donna coming around.
Yep. We did.
So I think that's one of the main main ways to get businesses involved. We also, the city used to also distribute a letter to all the businesses saying, please don't park your car on the square for the 4th of July. And they did have bleachers on Cherry Street the night before they were set
Back
up.
in the day, yeah, right.
So
Yeah.
the letter to all the businesses saying, please don't park here during the parade, move your car, park it somewhere else. And going to every business, I know it's a lot of work, it takes a lot of time, but that one-to-one.
I'm not disagreeing with you. We
And
can
that
do
is
that,
a
and we can
great
do
way
that for a
to
lot of things,
market.
but that's not what the event on the square is about. It's not just about marketing, so.
No, but if you
Yeah.
need help,
Well,
That's a
it wasn't
great
about the
way.
help. We always need help. All events do. The board just together made a decision that it wasn't the best event for the chamber.
Yeah. So
I'm not saying,
yeah.
yeah.
So thank you. Let me just kind of finish up the recap, because that's what we want to make sure we get on the record tonight, or today. Yeah. So we do appreciate that, maybe it's a little bit different method in terms of communicating with the businesses. But again, they very much cooperated in the no parking. The residents cooperated. We did not have any issues, with traffic, at least on those two streets, Columbus and Cherry Street. So the other couple of other things about the evening event, it began at 4:00. We talked a little bit about whether that was too early, too late. The kids zone representatives feel like, yeah, there were not a lot of kids there at 4. But they also acknowledged it was very hot, which it always is. And they also said, though, that it may have been a different type. It may have been the younger kids were there at 4 with their parents doing the bounce house stuff, and then they may have left. And the older kids and the kind of the families kind of turned over a little bit for the evening event. So we're going to feel like it's worth trying again to start at 4:00 and see kind of what the effect would be. The food vendors indicated much more successful event this year from an income perspective than last year. But last year it rained, intermittently, and so this year it didn't. But even this year's event was down, though. They would argue that it was down from the prior year. And that might have been because it was on a Friday, not 100% sure.
Like the middle school part
Yeah.
compared to the middle school part last year,
Just
or
yeah, the number of people who were there for the fireworks, yeah, in the
Oh.
middle school, yes, exactly. So yeah, but all that said, at by 6 o'clock that evening, the folks who were running the kids zone said it was absolutely maxed out at that point. Really, I mean, they would need more bounce houses to support more kids and more families. So it was well attended. I don't want to suggest that it was not, but we do feel like that maybe there weren't as many people at the fireworks show as there might have been in the past. You do know that there was a delay in the fireworks. We had a couple of people on the football field, so
those Capel kids.
got to manage that.
We were nowhere near. We'd never see another firework.
The signs worked very well. The signs that said no fireworks, and then the digital signs as well. The fire department felt like this was about as well managed as they've ever had. They have very, very few fireworks going off at the middle school and or around them during the events. So they said that was a big improvement over prior years. We did send a letter to every resident along Letts Avenue and in that area telling them no fireworks, while the display was going on. So that may have helped too. That may have been another thing that kind of helped us with that. Like I said, and we recognize there were some gaps. There were some gaps because the way people were sort of dispersing the candy in the parade. So going back to the parade, popsicles were a bit of an issue. I mean, just we gotta work with the groups that are handing things out or throwing things out. That's still not working perfectly, but
Is they're taking too long?
right. They start to get disconnected from their
Okay.
entry, and then they slow them down to kind of catch up or whatever. I mean, it's kind of creating this accordion effect, if you will. And
Maybe there should be a limit on how many organizations do it. Not that I would want to limit it,
Yeah.
but my kids ate 3 popsicles each that day. So it was hot enough. It was nice.
Yeah.
So,
they had 84 entries in the parade, so that down a little bit. We've had 120-ish or plus in the past. A lot of that they think again was a result of a Friday event that people were maybe out of town for a longer weekend. 4th of July next year is going to be on a Saturday, so see how that goes. The other thing is, keep in mind, we're looking to do maybe something to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So yeah, there'll be next year's will look different than this year's, if for no other reason because of the 250 celebration, but also as a result of kind of the feedback
So
we
did you
have.
say that you or someone monitored the end of the parade and how that?
Yes, so thank you to
Rated.
that point. So basically at the end of the parade, what I did say is most of the floats or entries did return to the school. So that was good. I think that actually worked out pretty well. What I will say is that when some got to the end of East Street, rather than turning right on Bachman, they turned left and went out to 37. So they basically opened up a barrier and exited that way. I wouldn't say it was a lot of floats, but it might have been 5 or so that exited that way. I also noticed then that the large groups, like the cheer squad, like the football team, like the bands, they actually tended to stop on Bachman and disperse. So some of them went back to the school, but a lot of them kind of headed back into town or someplace else. So because they were going to meet up with somebody on the square or whatever the case might be. So there definitely was a lot of the larger groups tended to kind of disperse at that point and not go onto the grounds. The other thing is happening, 2 other things that are happening. Once the beginning of the parade gets back onto the square or onto the school grounds, people are looking to leave, right? And so I know they're holding them on Columbus. You can't exit on Columbus. I didn't see too many try to come back out onto Bachman Road. But a lot of them were coming around kind of the backside of that school and exiting near the ball field. So up to 37. So there's
Who are you talking about? People that came to watch the parade?
in the parade.
People who were
People
in the parade
who had returned to the school.
were trying to leave
Trying to
and the
leave.
parade is still going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the final thing I was going to say is that also what happens is that kind of in the Let's area, and near the school area there, at some point, people were trying to, like, I don't know where they came from. They must have been inside the parade zone. Let's say they live on, Hill Street or something. Every once in a while, you'd see a vehicle just kind of appear, and it was sort of working its way out the backside, trying to get out. So these are people who probably weren't attending the parade, but they probably lived there and they were trying to exit for some reason. So there's every once in a while, there's a vehicle that gets into the middle of the parade trying to get itself out while the parade is still
And it
running.
wasn't like the very first people that had just parked over there. It
No.
was like residents.
I think these are residents that are
Interesting.
in their home and
Okay.
they're ready to leave. And then I think I made this comment, but I'll say this, and I think people have noticed this in the past, and that is that the beginning of the parade, once it kind of gets back to the school, they're all lined up, and then then they start to line up in behind the end of the parade, right? You've got the fire truck, you've got the 2 police vehicles, and then you have people who are exiting the school grounds and just following them up Columbus Street, and it looks like the parade's kind of starting over again.
Mhm.
A lot of confusion again about like where the end of the parade
Yeah.
is. So,
Well, I was confused, especially because of the ATV behind the police
Yeah.
behind the fire. So I was like,
Yeah.
well, I think the police are the end of it, but
so yeah, so
if they're coming out and you're already in your float, like if the
Right.
float is coming out, then
Right.
it looks like it's part of the parade.
very much looks like it's part of the parade. So, and because what was happening then is, okay, the police vehicle's clear, the intersection down here, and people are, kind of crossing. Basically, at that point, the police chief's view is that you're operating under the existing, street rules, right? The you hold for the light, don't cross in front of traffic. I mean, whatever, turn left, whatever. I mean, you're supposed to be following the rules of the road. And that's not happening. You've got people crossing streets, you've got people not paying attention to the lights, just going right through them. So a little more.
Like drivers going
Yeah,
through
driver.
lights.
Yep.
Is they're also in the mindset of
Yeah, that the road isn't open yet. Well, it is open. Once
Okay.
the police chief or the police vehicles go by, it's open. So
okay, business
Anyway.
as usual.
business as usual. Exactly. Anyway, there's more than that, but that's the gist of it. Alyssa, like I said, will copy the notes and
All sounds like things that can be worked on. It
Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
sound like anything that was a major safety issue. It sounds like nobody was terribly upset about things. They're all things that we've been doing this for 50 years and we're just keep learning every year and we'll do better next year. And also your group of who has a seat at the table keeps getting bigger. And so that's great. Cause if it should just like one civic representative and the mayor, like that's not gonna work anymore. We're too big for that. So that sounds really good. Good teamwork.
I think there's an opportunity too. We talked about something at the end of the parade that would be noticeable that calls an end to the parade. Might be worth putting some thought into and come up with something creative that can become more of a tradition
Yeah.
that people will start to recognize year after
Yeah,
year.
that's good.
I mean, I love the fire truck. Who doesn't love seeing the fire truck go by? But maybe it calls for a particular float or a particular vehicle. I don't.
Yeah.
A horse-drawn carriage with Dave Martin dressed as Uncle Sam, whatever.
Yeah.
There's options.
a lot.
Like,
St. Nicholas already.
I feel like
Make him Uncle
it could
Sam
be
too.
Bugs, whoever, is it Bugs Bunny that said that's all folks?
Yeah.
It could be, but
It's
they
Porky
could dress
Pig.
like Uncle Sam.
Porky
Porky
Pig,
Pig
yeah.
dresses, so that could be offensive. We asked Dave Martin to do that, but. So I get your point though, something, and then folks learn every year that's.
Right, that is the end, Macy's parade is always ended by Santa Claus,
Right.
right? So
Right.
put something there that'll
Saint
come to be known
Nicholas.
as the end of the parade.
Yeah, okay, great.
Great.
Okay. Was that recap longer than your meeting?
Oh. I had to throw them out in an hour.
Okay, please tell us about this donation program you have under new business.
Yes. All right, so this is in draft form still. So a couple of things. One is, as part of the Parks Committee, I think we had started working on a donation policy a couple of years ago. And then one of the things the mayor in this year's State of the City address talked about was how you as a resident can get involved in your community. And he asked me if I could put together some kind of, and I guess one other thing, and with the plans as it relates to J.R. Smith Park, we thought, well, people might also want to be making donations to support, that park improvements. So what do we do? So like I said, the mayor in the State of the City address said, we're going to put together something. We're going to create an opportunity for people to, contribute to their community. And so this is it says it's the fourth draft, but it's the first one you've seen. So I did put together a program that had some stuff in it, but after talking to the Civic Association, we realized, they're out raising money as well to support the civic events. And so I tried to kind of back away from that, although there's something in here with respect to fireworks, but everything else tried to kind of back out of that and make it feel like it's very much a city activity. So, and then the other thing I tried to do here is create an opportunity for everybody. And the opportunity means you can give your time, or you can give money. So there is an opportunity for people who want to, and maybe that's the only option, is that they can give time. So the first one under the first category here is volunteer partners. So, and these, there's nothing magical about the headings necessarily, or even the commitment amounts or whatever. I mean, I'm just trying to put something out there for people to react to. So a partner volunteer would be somebody who completed 250 or more hours of volunteer service in any 1 year. And what I've said is we could create a community partners page, and we would list that family or that individual's name for 1 year as a community partner, right? You gave your time to do something, and whatever that something might be. It does need to be documented, and documented just means that maybe there's some communication with staff and there's some tracking of the time. It doesn't mean staff's tracking the time, but somebody's tracking the
You're
time.
verifying
It comes
it.
in and it gets validated. Exactly.
It's notarized.
It's notarized. And then sort of this next category is sort of a legacy volunteer, somebody who has given so much time over their lifetime that they are, they deserve to be recognized. And the idea here in the 1816 is basically that's the date the city was founded. So 1,816 hours. You're a legacy volunteer. Your name included on a plaque and displayed somewhere here in Sunbury Town Hall. We can find the location. Unlimited number of people can be on either one of these lists, if you will. Then the community partners. This is the one thing where Civic and the city are working together on this particular project. But we have said that the city would be interested in kind of helping find volunteer or find support for the fireworks display, not the other events that happen, but the fireworks display itself. Maybe that's something the city might help kind of raise funds. So I don't want to conflict with what Civic Association is doing here. So that's why I said we would coordinate with Civic on this. As you, I think, know, based on the presentation at the last council meeting, a lot of community groups stood up this year and made donations, financial donations. Great year in terms of funding the fireworks. Really is going to help the Civic Association be better positioned to do a whole bunch of other things beyond just put on the fireworks and the sizzle. So anyway, so we're still kind of working through what this is, but we'll work more closely with Civic to make sure we're not undermining their efforts to raise funds. All right, then this next category basically relates to a public park. You want to put something in a park, right? And so, what might those things be? Well, tree planting, right? People have come to us and said, I want to plant a tree.
Yeah.
Recognition of somebody, okay, let's do that. So the name is included. So here we talk about then, instead of trying to put the displays on the tree itself, there is a display you can get where people's names are carved into a little, like a leaf on this tree. I should have brought a visual of it. And then a lot of communities have them, and they'll have them in their town hall or the municipal building. So you donate a tree, you get your name on this plaque. It's not connected to the tree, but it is connected to a contribution you've made to have a tree planted in somebody's, you know, memory.
Because that gets complicated as the trees grow. We've had to work with that.
A capital project. So this one might be the J.R. Smith Park. So, you know, you make a financial contribution of, in this case, I put $750 or more. Your name's included on a plaque displayed in the park with the capital project. So, you know, I don't have enough to donate to the pavilion, but I wanna, you know, be a family wants to support this. And so we make this donation. And like I said, we get some sort of a plaque and we display it. And your name's, you know, sitting on the pavilion wall down there that you were a contributor that helped put, you know, to help fund the J.R. Smith Park improvements. It could be any capital project, but it would be based upon any, you know, the capital project approved by the city. A park bench, a picnic table, a flagpole. So, you know, just some additional ideas. If you think of other things that, you know, people we generally put in our parks, we did talk about a doggy, you know, station. Didn't know we might have put that. That's what my name on.
I know.
I mean, so there could be other things beyond this, but this maybe gets you thinking just a little bit. So
Yeah.
Those are great. That's a great idea.
yeah.
Yeah, I love the idea for this
Yeah, I do
whole,
too.
this whole program. I am curious, and I've wondered this before, as I've seen bridges and parks and more permanent structures change name over time. When you have a dedication, when you have a named when you have a donor naming, how long are you obligated to maintain that naming?
So you flip
Because-
the page, and that's where we start talking about like the big dollar numbers.
It's blank.
It's blank too.
Oh, yours is blank.
No, your major,
Well, no, I'm talking about the major amenities, right? Where you've got like your tennis courts and stuff, like, that tennis court is named that forever and ever
Right.
and ever,
Oh.
amen.
I see what you're saying.
But if it gets completely refurbished, do you sell naming rights to it again? Potentially.
The way I've written,
That's my
drafted it, it says naming right, let me read it. So for donors wishing to leave a more lasting legacy or demonstrate major community partnership, limited naming rights are available for major community amenities. All naming rights are subject to council approval, recognition on the city's blah, blah, blah. Okay, online. So I didn't say what limited means. To me, limited also means limited time.
Okay.
So what I think I try to, if I'm thinking about this, I think what I was thinking is, well, what's the useful life of the asset? And is this about 1/3 of the useful life? So if I, you know, had a pickleball court, you know, I don't know, is the useful life of that 15 years? So you can pay 10,000 and you get your name on it for 5 years, or, I mean, and I'm not saying I know the number yet. I mean, I'm just saying that
It's
something
being
happened.
thought of. That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then at some
that's-
point, it can get, you know, refurbished, cleaned up or whatever, and a new name could come on it,
Yeah.
right? So you're not buying, you know, indefinite naming right here, you're not
Mhm.
buying a limited naming right. So yeah, like I said, I haven't worked out quite how many years each one of these is, but roughly trying to think of a third of the life. So, but the pavilion, I mean, you know, the pavilion's gonna cost, well, I don't know, pavilion could cost $100,000, right? So if you're paying a quarter of it, you don't get to have your name on it forever and ever, right? I mean, at some
Right.
point, you know, well, if you want to, keep giving us 25,000.
Annually.
You know, flashy new sign and put it up on there.
right.
Might be something you're interested in, Nancy.
Yeah.
Donating 25,000, you're writing it
Down
down.
it down right now. Like, I want to get in there and get that.
For pavilion.
That's a good point. Playground, shelter house, splash pad. Again, these are just some of the examples. I know these are things that are going in
Yeah.
over at
Yeah.
Smith Park. So I can start to put time limits to this, but if you feel like that might be a little too short, like, hey, you know, if you're gonna pay that kind of money, you know, you ought to have your name on there for 10 years. Yeah.
Well, you could do 10,000 for the pickleball court. For 10 years, pavilion, 25,000 for 25 years.
Or maybe increase the pavilion amount, but still you're buying 10 years worth of a naming right,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So maybe this one looks more like 35 or 40, well, let's say 35,000 to get 10 years, right? That's something like that.
Or base it around the reasonable life of the asset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you replace it, because even a pavilion will rot eventually and it'll need rebuilt, maybe that's the cutoff, but
And this is just a draft. You're still
Yeah.
working on this.
No,
I'm
I-
confident there's other cities that are doing
this is
something.
getting in the
similar.
weeds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Both, whoever does the upgrade along with the
I
original.
mean, you're right. I mean, that's exactly right.
Oh.
So when the name changes, there could also be a refresh.
Right, there's.
It really feels like, something new is happening at this site. Yeah. Okay.
Is there a way the splash pad? I don't know what the basis can be like, but to incorporate like, like a brick placard that has a name on it, don't it?
Oh.
To compensate. Okay.
Based on the kind of base that we're looking on, absolutely.
That's the general idea.
Yeah, but what I was, I guess, trying to get away from, I mean, I know a lot of people do those bricks. I also know that it can be a little tricky too.
We're putting bricks right now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So they don't last forever.
Exactly. But the kind of the same thing. You didn't, you made a $750 donation. You didn't get a brick, but you got your name again on a plaque that's mounted on a wall, that's in the park, that people could see. So there's a way to try to recognize them, but not, and that's going to be a lot easier to maintain long
Right.
term.
And we don't need bricks, so that's not part of the
Yeah,
project. So
exactly. We don't have.
let's use money smartly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
This is great. Dave Martin's gonna be happy to hear about this because he sort of championed this from the beginning, so.
Great idea.
Yeah, and then the final one, there's a custom or memorial donation, custom memorial or family legacy gift. I mean, I don't know, somebody might want to donate a park, right? Somebody might not want to donate
Let's not limit our residents.
an art installation, right? Or, I mean, or somebody might want to put like not a bandstand, but like a patio out here so we could start doing, music on the square or something like,
Mhm.
I mean, so, these are all sort of one-offs, but, it might be something that a family or an individual wants to do.
Yeah.
So then these are more customized. We just kind of work through it and figure out, okay, what's the cost? What's the recognition? How do
So when this goes through and you're happy with it, it's something that we will push out to the public.
I think I absolutely feel like we definitely, I think want to begin to get some public feedback on it.
'Cause now that you say that, I do remember the mayor talking about this. So
Yeah.
if anybody was watching that and has like a business or has a opportunity for donation, that might have clicked with them. Oh, great.
All right, so let me do this. Let me go back then and I'll kind of think more about the reasonable life of the asset and whether, the amount is kind of aligned with some rationale.
Yeah.
Just gotta figure out. And then maybe it's ready to at least, I don't know, if we do the public outreach first, we kind of have a conversation with council about the direction it's headed. We can strategize that a little bit more, but.
We could work with the funeral home.
Mhm.
So when people leave money to their families, and they might want to leave something here that's permanent or a little permanent to Sunbury.
That's a great idea.
Mhm.
It seems a little opportunistic, but yeah, it's a great idea, right? Because that's when people are looking to make lasting donations and memorialize people.
Yeah,
So
that's-
yeah, sure.
All right. Well, that's good. So it sounds like generally you like the direction we're headed. We still
Yeah.
have some work to do.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Do we have any visitors? Visitors? Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Next meeting is scheduled for August 19th. And roll call, please. Ms. Cooper? Yes. Mr. Capel?
Yes.